Commissioner Wilson has really partnered in bringing this back to the community after some of the challenges we've had in the last several years, not only for the school, but for the community and especially for our kids. So I wanted to welcome you, but most of all, I want to welcome and thank Commissioner Wilson for being here tonight. And we are so ready to hear the presentation from both staffs in order to hopefully move this forward and down the road, and also answer all of your questions that you may have. So without any delay, let me introduce Commissioner Nicole Wilson.
So I will tell you that I go to a lot of these type of meetings for development, but being here just brings me such great joy. Being on this campus, being with you all, community members that I've now run into for the first time, some of you all since I've known since my kids were in preschool, and of course all three of mine graduated from Orange County Public Schools, and I'm a public school parent through and through. But my heart is with this community and understanding that in order for the community to feel really whole, that we need to make sure we're revisiting the site plan and doing what was right for our kids. This is the opportunity tonight to make sure that if there's questions, we're answering those questions. If there's concerns, that we're hearing the concerns. So some of it might be a little technical, and that's okay. We're here. Board Member Gould and I and a bevy of experts are here to answer questions and address concerns in the hopes that we can check this off the list and move forward to the next step and then get these kids playing football right here on Friday nights. I am going to turn it over to our zoning department. I think Ted is going to take the mic from here.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. This is a little different for us in Orange County. We don't often have the ability and the opportunity to have a joint meeting with the school, so welcome. And I'll briefly, as Commissioner said, go over the technical aspects. We won't bore you too much, and a lot of you know why we're here today, so I don't like just standing behind the podium and be able to see the quick PowerPoint. So what this meeting here tonight is, this is what we call a Board of Zoning Adjustment, so a BZA process. That's the technical term, but the reality is the request in tonight is to amend the current approval for the school site to allow on-site stadium, so that in a nutshell is what that means. So the purpose of this meeting tonight is providing that public information about the process, the upcoming potential hearings, and we'll be obviously taking comments and questions. Any questions received will be gathered, and then we'll be able to answer them at the very end. So there's 2 mics up front, and everyone is welcome to spend up to 3 minutes and asking questions or providing comments. So the board member and the commissioner, they have already been welcomed. So if we can go forward to the next slide, please. And so as we can see, what the technical term is, we have a project number, which is at the top, and then the zoning district and the teacher land use, which governs what type of projects can be in a certain district. As you can see, the project and the address. This is in District 1, and the request that we're here for tonight. We can move forward. And Commissioner Wilson here is welcoming you tonight on behalf of Orange County. Don't worry, Orange County Schools will also have a PowerPoint. If we can move forward. And the information, keep moving forward, please. So just very quickly, the project timelines. Well, we can obviously know today is August 23rd. It's pretty obvious. The upcoming Board of Zoning Adjustment hearing is scheduled for September 7th. So that's coming up pretty quick. And then we anticipate, this is a tentative date so far, end of October 24th, which would be the BCC final hearing. If we move forward, this is a location map, just to, if you just don't happen to know. This is the property itself. It's fairly large, 65 acres. It is known as RCE That's the zoning district. There's some commercial to the south. Moving forward. Aerial map of what it looks like today, and we'll look at in a couple of seconds here the very southwest corner. You're probably all familiar with the location of the practice field if we move forward. This is the overall site as we all are standing today. Now the top left corner is the area of the practice field if we can move forward. And then if you twisted your head to the side, you'd be able to see all the information on it. The most important part is, of course, the stadium to be converted from a practice field. The yellow would be the existing improvements. That's what's here today. Concession building, which I'm told also is for restrooms. That's on your right. And then a new basketball court on the bottom left. And then, most importantly, the stadium stands on the top there nearest the street, and then onto the bottom. Forward. And if you can see here, as you twist your head, this is the building elevations for the building that would encompass the restrooms and the ticket taking if you move forward. And as they're called, the home bleacher elevations, moving forward. And then as we're called, the visitor bleacher elevations, moving forward. And this is facing towards the practice field. I'm sure you're all familiar with that location. And moving forward to where there's a shot put, it's to be relocated a few feet to the west. And then, very difficult for me to read here, but we talked about the special exception for the field to be converted. The current location's off-site, of course. The request is for 1852 seats. That includes 300 temporary or portable stands, the relocation from the park, the construction of that building, which will hold concessions, and then there's these stands to be relocated from the existing park. So not all the stands will be new; some of them will be relocated moving forward. And these are the parking requirements. The site has ample parking to encompass all of the anticipated 1852 at the very most people, and I'm told that's not each and every game, but we assume for a full stadium, so that's how we calculate. And then as we're working on the hours for, this is just specifically for the games, 7 p.m. on Fridays, ending approximately 11 p.m., and that's in works and for contingencies. We all know this in Florida, there's some weather, so we're talking about that. And I believe that should be the end of the PowerPoint presentation here. I will hand it over to the schools, and we'll just have a reminder at the very end. We'll have the ability to talk at the microphone. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you so much. If we can go ahead and put up the next presentation, please. You're the best, thank you. Thank you everyone for showing up tonight. It's only through a community coming together and working together with our school district and with our county that the partnership works and things get better. So I'd like to take a little moment just to thank everyone who has come out tonight. Board Member Gould and County Commissioner Wilson and all of her team that has helped make this incredible night happen the way that it has. Thank you to Deputy Superintendent Armbruster for showing up today. That's fantastic. We're happy to have you here. We're also joined by Principal Leader Kelly Poldano, and also want to thank Principal Andy Liftakis and his team here at Windermere High School for hosting this evening. And also want to thank Executive Leader Jose Martinez for being here. Thank you. Our architect on this project is Schenkel Schultz, and Patrick Rausch and Lynn Lefebvre are here. Thank you. Construction manager is Gordon Smith, and Jim Clean and James Magnete is here. Civil engineer is Lima Weeks, and Jake Lima is here. The lighting designer who is doing all of the outdoor stadium lighting is Musco Lighting, and Bob Dakota is here. OCPS Travel, traffic engineer is Clint Pletzer from Alcon. Representing OCPS facilities, we have the project manager, Dora Lopez de Anuez. From the planning, design, legal, and construction teams, we have Jad Brewer from legal. Project management team design manager, Mo Arthur. Planning and design manager, Brian Smith. We have senior administrator, Lonnie Flores and Christopher Mills. Assistant director of public relations, Lauren Roth. Boss, so give her an extra hand, please. Thank you. Senior specialist, Marilyn Gutierrez Castellanos. For transportation, we have Adam Zubritsky. I apologize for butchering your name. I'd like to thank the Orange County Sheriff's Office for being here and for the amazing job that they do. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started on our presentation. Jad, if you want to come up.
All right, so I have to bore you with a little bit more history and other things before I introduce Patrick, our architect, and he'll go over the fun stuff. You actually can see what it might look like if approved. So just a brief slide showing the location of the school. It's about 1 mile to the Scott Pine Park where you guys play now. As you know, the current situation here is that there's just a track and field with limited lighting. It's just for practices. 860 on-site parking spots, as well as traffic signals at our 2 main vehicle entry points. A whole lot of turn lanes and a whole lot of things that are missing at the park down south. All right, the current situation at the park south of here, there is the full competition track and field, full sports field lighting, 80-foot poles, 1,320 stadium seats, plus the announcer's booth, field house building with the locker, restrooms, all those things that we're planning on putting in here if it's approved. Unfortunately, only 205 on-site paved parking spots, and the parking lot entrance is not signalized. If you can go to the next slide, which leads to the issues with the location down south. There's of course nowhere, as the athletes will probably tell you, there's nowhere to shelter during a storm for your parents. Everybody has to go to their car or go be shuffled back on buses back up here. It's a huge safety issue from both the fire marshal perspective and law enforcement perspective. The traffic congestion during game day is horrible, backing up well outside of the park boundaries. As you all know, the total parking demand well exceeds what you guys have at games, especially the football games, where you drive all the way down the road thinking you're going to park for the game, and you're told, nope, go somewhere else. Unfortunately, it also leads to the yellow area across the street where people park where they're not supposed to park, creating major safety issues. We get lots of complaints from the sheriff's office about that. It's very dangerous with kids darting across a very dark 2-lane road with high-speed traffic. And it also leads, of course, to parking in surrounding neighborhoods, which is not good for those neighbors who are trying to just come home from work in the afternoon. All right, next slide. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to Patrick. He gets to tell you the fun part about what we're proposing here.
Hi, good evening. I'm Patrick Brow with Schinkel Schultz, architect for the project. And so I'll dive in a little more detail and talk about the overall project and kind of what the scope of the work is. Again, this is the existing high school property, as you can see. The primary scope of work, obviously, is adding the new athletic lighting to accommodate for the football games, which is 80-foot tall poles. We also have constructing a new building, which we'll talk about in more detail as well. That'll have restrooms, concessions, and ticketing areas. And then there's also the additional bleacher seating as well for the stadium. So this is kind of a high-level sort of overview. And if you go to the next slide, please, I'll zoom in a little bit and look at the details a little further. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to see here, but as you can see, there are going to be some additional field lighting to replace for the athletic field package, which we will talk about in more detail after this as well. The red box in the top right there is the new building that'll have concessions, the restrooms, and the ticket booth, like I mentioned before. As part of the project, we're also relocating one of the basketball courts down to the southeast corner as well. The idea is that that will make room for the bleacher seating for the home, which is on the right-hand side, and then the visitor seating is on the left-hand side. Again, a lot of this, the other portion of the work is to install the new seating, which is a total of 1,552 seats. And there's also potential for 300 future expansion seats as well. The entire property does have a secure fence, which is that red line, as you can see, around the extent of the property as well. Taking a look at some of the improvements and the comparisons that Jad had talked about, again, because we are looking at this stadium being on the existing high school property, they have adjacent campus buildings in case there is a weather event or there's lightning. They have places for the students or the spectators to go in case of an event like that for shelter. Also, there are 860 paid parking spaces on the existing high school property, so you have much better, obviously, parking capacity on this site compared to the other one that's temporarily being utilized. Like Jed had mentioned, the spectators won't have to cross a busy highway, obviously, to get to the stadium, so all the parking is on site, paid parking. And that yellow circle there is a signalized traffic signal also. So again, much better access and control points onto the campus for the parking. The field lighting, again, is a big part of the project. So we've looked at buffers for the lighting that's going to come in place here. On the west side of the property, there is a 220-foot buffer from the 80-foot light pole to the property line across the road. And then on the east side, there is an 800-foot plus buffer between the lights in the property over to the right in that area. Those buffers are going to eliminate light spillage, which we'll talk about in a little more detail, and then also control visible glare as well. So there's some new technology that Bob will talk about in a little bit regarding the lighting to mitigate both of those issues. The lighting is also going to comply with the Orange County lighting ordinance. There's a less than 1 foot candle at the high school property line and also less than 1% light above the horizontal as well. So all those things, all the new lighting will meet the requirements for the Orange County ordinance that's required for this property. Again, a big part of this work will be the athletic lighting. So we brought Bob DeCuda with us today to talk about the package. He's from Musco Lighting, and they're our premier expert in athletic lighting. As you can see here, they've done a significant amount of sports lighting all over the country and all over Florida. So I'm going to turn it over to Bob, and he's going to go a little more detail about the details of the lighting here.
Thank you. My name is Bob DeCuda. I'm with Musco Lighting. I've been doing nothing but sports lighting for the last 24 years here in Central Florida. Musco has been in sports lighting since 1976, so we have done thousands of projects around the world. Just here in Central Florida, over 600 field lighting projects, over 40,000 LED fixtures. So we're not doing this. We know what we're doing, and essentially, next slide, please. Our expertise is putting the light on the field and controlling it from spilling onto the neighbors and subjecting them to unnecessary spill and glare. As we've been in business since 1977, that's our evolution in glare control. We have always had a focus on getting better at controlling light. 1977, a standard symmetrical fixture, that's what we introduced to the market back then. The 2015 picture to the right, that's the LED technology that's being proposed for this site. As the previous speaker stated, we meet the ordinance for Orange County, at the property line, as well as the light above grade. I think it's significant to state that several years ago, the International Dark Sky Association, which they consider themselves the guardians of the night sky, they came up with a community-friendly sports lighting program where they evaluate a design for a sports lighting facility. They evaluate the sky glow, which is the uplight. They evaluate the spill, the glare going on to the neighbors, and they have a specific criteria to pass or fail that particular lighting design. Orange County Public Schools has gone to great lengths to make sure that this meets the IDA community-friendly sports lighting program. Next slide. Ultimately, that's the results that you want, where the light is on the field, you're not subjected to the glare, which is In most cases, when people don't want lights, they think about that picture that's way to the left, the previous slide, 2 slides ago. In reality, with LED, this is what is possible, and this is what you get. Next slide. This is one of the slides one of the things that the IDA requires is that 150 feet around the lighting design, they have to have less than 10,000 candela. That's a measurement of glare in order for it to meet their criteria. And in this case, that 7,000, I believe, is the highest number there. Well, that's the entire group, yes. So that is the candela. So we are less than 1,000 candela in the median there, next to nothing. Next slide, please. This is horizontal foot candles, which glare is looking at the light. Horizontal foot candle is if I take a light meter and put it horizontal. Essentially, you got 0 light smoke coming from this facility. I went a step further. Obviously, there's nobody living in a median. There are people that live across the street. So I wanted to see what kind of candela, that intensity of light, they would be subjected to, not even at their property, but at the sidewalk across the street. And it is a maximum of 100 candela, which is what you might see a 100-watt bulb. And again, this is the picture to the left is older technology, and that's often what is associated with sports lighting, because that's what was available when there wasn't technology capable of controlling the glare. Over to the right is a field that's lit to more foot candles on the field than what is being proposed here, but you can see there's no glare. The cutoff is exceptional, and it's not impacting any community. And I think I'm going to turn it over now for the schedule.
So this just shows a very brief kind of overall schedule regarding the project. Like Ted mentioned at the beginning, we are in the process of the BZA for all the county commission approvals and the overall design. So that is currently slated to be wrapped up by November of this year, and then construction and procurement can start. And that has us finishing August of 2024.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for the presentation. Now we'd love to answer any questions that you have. So if you would like to please line up in front of the microphones and feel free to ask your questions. We will do our best to answer them. Please.
I just want to make sure, also, if you had comments, I want to make sure that there's an opportunity if you had feedback or comments and questions. If this isn't comfortable for you, because I, for one, don't love holding a microphone, we are both very open to taking any kind of information and feedback. We know we have an expert team to rely on to answer any additional questions. So even after you leave here tonight, if something dawns on you, do not hesitate to reach out. I just wanted to make sure you knew that we will continue listening.
Thank you. Please, sir.
Hi, thanks for taking the time. I've spoken with Pam and Nicole about this. I'm actually in that yellow dot that's right across the street over in Lake Haywood. Our board's talked about it a lot. We're not opposed to the stadium. We understand. We have kids too. We have kids who attend. We have kids who go elsewhere, and we are empathetic. I think what we're hoping is that there's a little bit of empathy towards us, and I can see there is because of the pains that have been taken with this lighting, which is extremely reassuring and something that I was quite nervous about. I think the one thing I've heard tonight that does give me some concern is this 7 to 11 p.m. game time. When the school was approved, at least 6 out of the 7 of the commissioners did have concerns about the school being here, and as a result, there was a settlement agreement that talked about lights out at 8 p.m., noise concerns, quiet bells, and whatnot. And I think we're hoping that maybe there can be some movement to the game slightly earlier. Perhaps because we talked about how the school, our neighborhood is about 200 feet from the site, everything else is 800 feet the other way. We've had neighbors question whether or not the stadium actually could be more centrally located where the faculty parking lot is, such that the burden is spread out more. Our community's taken the brunt of the burden. We have our crosswalk, and where we exit is the main walkway where the students go to school. We have 15 seconds to take a left out. A lot of parents will park there and drop off and block our entrance, and a lot of the kids will continue to walk when the stop signal, when the walking signal is ended, such that we can't get out. And a couple of times we've asked for sheriffs to help. They've actually pulled us over, saying that we were entering a crosswalk when the kid was there, even though we weren't and fought in court. So I think our main point is we're very supportive. We're happy with the stadium being here, but we are hoping that the spirit of the settlement agreement and that there can be some concessions and we can work together as a community to make this great for everybody. So that's all I have.
Yes, sir.
My question is, are there any plans to have lights in the baseball and softball stadium? And if we can make the miracle happen for this year, that would be so great.
Hello, I'm Patricia Vera, and I'm the dance director at Windermere High School. I'm an original Wolverine who opened Windermere in 2017 and witnessed firsthand the inequalities and disadvantages our students, faculty, and community endured without an on-campus stadium. We experienced poor traffic access to our school. Did you enjoy your drive here this evening? Not if you came from the southeast. Now imagine dozens of buses, hundreds of faculty, and thousands of parents and students making their way on campus. If the stadium was built originally, then there would be an entrance off 535 to dissipate this traffic, which wastes countless minutes, miles, and money. Arguably, an inconvenient commute to work or school is commonplace. The true disservice to Windermere High School is that it was meant to serve as a relief school to West Orange High School. Relief because this young community was growing at such rates that our own relief school, Horizon High School, was planned before our first full graduating class. If a community needs a school, then a community needs a stadium. Not only a place for its football, lacrosse, flag football, track, field, soccer, marching band, color guard, dance team, cheerleaders, physical education classes, and ROTC to practice, rehearse, perform, and compete, but a place for the community to create memories. Memories that become traditions passed through generations. I can take my children to the stadium where I experienced Friday Night Lights over 20 years ago. While there, I can hear the drumline I marched in for 4 years, taste the hot dogs at third quarter break, and see my drum majors conducting the band. We play stand cheers that make the cheerleaders dance, the crowd roar, and the home team feel supported and encouraged. The away team is impressed with our presence and hospitality. We feel pride for our school, pride for our community, and it all starts with our shared home, the stadium. When West Orange needed a relief school, it was implied that it needed a stadium. The city of Windermere has suffered enough by delaying this build, but especially every graduating class that goes by. Our alumni endured an underwhelming high school experience, busing to their home games without tailgates and traditions. As educators, of course we've made lemonade out of this sour start. The seniors here today started their freshman year online after losing the end of their middle school experience. Allow them a glimpse of the full high school experience. Don't forget.
I hate to be the person that has to follow that. Just want to remind everyone.
I have a very short question or comment. I fully support the stadium being moved here. I was just curious what the plans were for the Scott Pine site if they do move it here. Or if anything's been proposed for that.
It's a whole different process. It is a different process. So the process we're going through right now is, we want to make sure we stay on track with this one. That will be another process because what was put together is an agreement there between OCPS And Orange County is now going to have to be redefined somehow. So there'll be more information coming out because that will also be something that we'll have to come to the community about and make sure that we're getting feedback and input on. But understanding the challenges we were always going to have there, it certainly continues to reinforce the decision to move this forward.
And just a reminder to everyone, just so we can make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak, if we can keep everything to 3 minutes, that would be awesome. Thank you.
She allowed me to speak because I was echoing that one. I was wondering, I thought it was kind of stupid when the stadium was in 2018 going off site, but it said it was going to be this public park. And I'm like, well, it used to be a public park that I could run because in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up in my hometown, I could go to my local school and run the track. And I looked in Orange County, there's nowhere I can just go exercise on a track. So I just like the idea that since it's on the extension of the West Orange Trail and the Econ Greenway, if it could be a public track that we could run around, or at least public hours to extend where we could have some more exercise.
What was your name?
Huh?
What was your name?
Jordan Basner.
Okay, I think we've emailed back and forth. I brought that to Matt Sudemeyer, who was our Director of Parks and Recreation, as a request. And when we get to the programming for Scott Pine, exciting new days, right? So I'm going to reach out to you and make sure to get.
Cool. Well, tell me when that meeting is.
Good evening, guys. How are you doing? For those who don't know me, I'm Brandon, I'm the Student Government Advisor here. Oh, my apologies. There we go. How's everybody doing? One step on it. By all means. So, it's wonderful to have you guys here. Thank you for being here. Again, I'm the Student Government Advisor here at the school. With your blessing and permission, I have 3 of my students here who wanted to address those who might have dissent. Is it okay if I spin so they can face those who might have questions or thoughts?
Go for it.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I am Peter Roman-Zavala, a senior here and the Student Government Association president. Throughout my years in high school and as a leader for my peers, there is nothing more that I value than tradition and safety. You can't have tradition without safety. And the first of 3 points you make tonight is a lack of safety for students our current situation presents. We are one of only schools that doesn't have an on-campus field. This has been a great inconvenience for athletes, spectators, and staff, but also a great risk to our safety. Almost anyone can argue that attending games is part of attending high school. My own experience of attending games and events at Scott Pines over the past 4 years has been nothing short of chaotically dangerous. Given the limited parking of the stadium in comparison to those coming in for games or events, parking is often full before games even begun. Without assistance from the county, I have watched our staff members stand in the problematic streets, enforcing rules that are not their own to try and allow for some flow or system. Now we all know teachers don't get paid enough. But being honked at, zoomed past, or just flat ignored in the dark streets really pushes it too far. Beyond that, once parking fills, I watch our students be faced with problematic decisions, many illegally parking in Independence, taking up space from residents in that neighborhood. Once parked in a lot that our staff can't protect or monitor. I watch my friends sprint across an unmarked street, often in near darkness. I am so afraid for the day that a student, hoping just to make it to Friday Night Lights, is instead met with the headlights in the middle of the street. Safety concerns continue. Many times, games are canceled because of the weather, which then leaves staff having to remote us from the fields. In case you're unaware, Scott Pine does not have space to shelter us from dangerous weather, so we are forced to retreat to our cars for those who are lucky enough to snag a parking lot. The rest are forced to wait in the lightning and rain. While many more reasons abound for why letting our stadium come home, I do hope that safety remains your top priority and simplest justification. Thank you.
Good evening. For those who don't know me, my name is Barbara Croda, and I'm a member of Windermere High's SJ. During my short time in high school, I have been fortunate to help plan and coordinate many of our major events and special offerings. Things like Claw Day, prom, homecoming, trick or treat, and dance marathon, just to name a few. That being said, I understand the practicality of any major undertaking and know that there are pros and cons involved with any major decision. However, I also understand that difficult or sometimes even costly decisions can be well worth the payoff. Community is built around events like the ones I spoke of. Yet, in order to make some of these possible, our students and staff are forced to go above and beyond their time commitments they've already made to bring materials, rehearsals, and staffs over to this community park. Consider this, our homecoming isn't even truly at our home. The research is plentiful about how getting involved in events and community helps students avoid depression, problematic behaviors, and more. With our stadium being on campus, our ability to involve students is crippled. Without our stadium being involved on campus, our ability to involve students is crippled. Space and time for practices and rehearsals is constrained by sharing with the community. We cannot decorate or demonstrate the pride we feel in our school because the venue is simply not ours. The practicality of moving spiritware, prizes, supplies, and more becomes an even greater burden, making it less and less desirable to offer those things. High school is hard enough. Please consider making it that much easier by allowing us to create spaces for events, traditions, community, and legacy right on the ground of our campus. Thank
you. Good evening. My name is Donnie Carey, and I'm a junior here at Windermere High School, along with having the honor of being our Student Government Association treasurer. I would first of all like to thank everyone for being here tonight. To us Wolverines, this is a very serious cause. Growing up in Apopka, I found myself at Blue Darter football games every Friday. I was wrapped into the culture immediately. Hoka hey, the phrase, those who stay will be champions, sitting on top of the home stands. Hundreds of Apopka community members out to see the Blue Darters. Years later, I feel as if Windermere High School has been denied the right to build a tradition of championship culture. Except Winter Park, every school in this county has a football field on campus, which has given other schools the opportunity to build a legacy, which leaves us at an unfair advantage. To anyone standing against this cause, I instead urge you to consider making yourself a part of this community instead of standing in the way of its progress and growth. Take a piece out of Apopka's book. Support the boys and girls in Navy and Line, the students that make this school so exceptional. Enrich yourself in this community that we at this school have no choice but to. Realize the greatness this school has already achieved needs a spark, a match to be lit. Ask anyone on campus, whether it's faculty, custodial, students, they will tell you every single time this campus needs a stadium. But most of all, the school is in need of a legacy, and this stadium could be its birthplace. Thank you.
And I'm a resident of the Oxford Moore community, which is adjacent to the school. I want to thank you for holding this meeting because it was very informational. And like my neighbor in Lake Haywood, we also have discussed the ramifications of relocating the stadium from where it was to the campus. I want to assure everyone here that unlike last time, the residents of Oxford Moore are not opposing the relocation. We are also not in any way trying to do anything to delay that meeting. There are, however, two concerns that we have, and I believe that the first concern was answered here. It was in regards to lighting. So thank you so much for that very detailed presentation. The second concern that we have, which has not been discussed, is noise mitigation. Now, as you know, the fight initially was surrounding the noise that was going to be generated by the high school that would affect the surrounding neighborhoods. We do have a wall. It's not tall enough to mitigate the noise that does come every Tuesday from band practice. And I know that the band practice takes place in the practice field, and it seems like it's very far away, but the noise does travel. So all of the homes that are adjacent to that wall hear that all the time. They also hear the dings of the batting practice. Now all of those things the neighbors can deal with, because some of us have moved after the school was built, and some of us have been there before the school was built. Those things are things that we can deal with. However, what we're asking both the planning committee and OCPS to consider as part of your planning for this new stadium, which again, we are not opposing. We are requesting that you consider some sort of noise mitigation. At the very least, we would like to request at least another landscape barrier that is taller than the trees that are already existing alongside the wall. So I did not hear anything about noise mitigation today. The second thing that we have discussed as a community is whether there's some way when you're designing the stadium and the box, if you could perhaps position the speakers in a way that would channel the sound to where the visitors and the home bleachers are instead of sound that goes out into the community. So those are the two things that I wanted to bring up to you and ask if you have any answer to my concern about noise mitigation.
So I just heard from our staff that we both did, that the two staffs are talking about further noise mitigations and how to promote the tree growth and take a look at what other options there are. The same for the front of the school by that fence, because we had talked about that as well. So just so you know, that is in discussion. And if anybody has a landscaping company or knows a landscaping company, because it always comes down to funding, right? Not desire to do it, but funding, I have to be honest about it. So let's, you and I talk and we can stay in touch on this issue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, SGA students, for inspiring me to speak up tonight. And thank you for painting the picture, the three of you, that we all have witnessed. And as a parent, I would like to say a few words. I'm going to try to keep it under 3 minutes. My junior son was in the marching band the last 2 years. And in order for the marching band, 150 members, to get out to the football field, you have to have buses. And the parents are paying for that because that's part of the band due. I don't want to put emphasis on the finances because that's the least amount of our worries, but we have heard about the safety. Not only that, but the instruments for the 150 kids would have to go out on U-Haul trucks. The parents have to volunteer to go get the U-Haul trucks early Friday afternoon, leaving work to make that happen, then pack up the U-Haul trucks, then take out all that and the kids, and then the lightning strikes. And then the kids are out there in the buses because the buses can't go anywhere when the weather hits. And it does hit Friday night, around 6:30. Then the guest team, as well as our team, football team, and the parents and everybody, the kids have to go back on the buses because they can't be out because of the lightning. The parents have no choice but to stay there, especially if they took the buses out, who are now stuck at the school because they can't go anywhere, so they can't come for the people to pick them up and bring them back to a safe place. So this was right after COVID, actually, when we were still very leery about infections or spreading it, but the kids are on the buses in a confined, contained environment. Of course, they are too proud to wear their masks. And I don't know, I know I'm probably getting close to my time here, but then not only that, but the game is over. Let's say it got delayed by an hour and a half, and now it's over at 11 o'clock at night. Now the trucks have to be loaded up with all those instruments. If it's weather related, the kids can't help, so it's on the parents to load them up in the middle of the rain, then bring it back to the school, and it's, by the time this all happens, it's past midnight, and the kids have homework that was due at 11:59. So I'm gonna stop there. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
The one thing about Nicole and I is we're both band moms.
I was going to say, not only was I band mom, but my husband was the U-Haul guy for 12 years. So.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Moore, and I'm a teacher here at Windermere High School. And so I want to use this as a teachable moment. I'm so excited to do this for you guys. I told you. I told you. So let's talk about some things in relation. I took some notes while I was listening. First off, because evidence is very important, sports facilities have been found to generate positive externalities over negative ones. So empirical studies report residential property prices increase near facilities such as these. So that's obviously very important to our community. And as much as I want to stand up here forever, because I feel very passionate about this from the time that I landed here at Windermere High School, if I didn't mention I'm also a community member, I live in Keens. We are very insulated and we're very lucky and fortunate to live in this community. But I have worked and lived in other communities up north, as I believe Mr. Carey was saying and Ms. Frodo was saying, regarding school spirit and how you feel. And gosh, it is something that you can touch and taste. It is palpable in the north. Football stadiums on campuses create a sense of community that is priceless. As I said, sports communities are the ones that we are drawn to in our communities. Not only are our property values going up, but in many cases it draws families to the communities to live in the Oxford Moors and the Keens Point and our wonderful neighborhoods across the street that we appreciate very much. And so we do talk about privilege. We talk about privilege in our classrooms and in our homes. We're reminding our students that we have worked hard. We have worked hard, parents. And by the way, may I pause there? I usually like to ask a question in the classroom because I already know the answer, but I'm going to take a risk here. How many of you, adults in the room, had a high school stadium on your campus in high school? And keep your hands up, please. How many students sitting in the classroom, in the PAC, know that their parents also had a stadium on their campuses? Yes. So let's embrace what we see here and give our kids this thing that is priceless. And the thing I speak of is camaraderie. Absolutely, camaraderie. And one thing I want to mention, as much as we're so positive today and I'm so grateful for what I'm hearing, I also want to mention we do have a bit of a mental health issue that I don't want to ignore here at Windermere High School. And our history is such that we have really struggled as teachers, my fellow colleagues are here will attest to this, of getting the kids involved with each other. And a stadium, gosh guys, a stadium would do just that. Our school is very well aware of the problems that we have and that we're facing. We're doing the best job as parents, but as teachers, we want that campus here. And I suspect that we can improve our mental health issues just one tiny bit by having this stadium here, by giving our kids something that money can buy. Lighting design, sound, I think everything is going to be considered, and that's wonderful. And this starts here on our campus and here at our future stadium at Windermere High School.
Hi, thanks for being here. I was just compelled to get up and say that I think the sound of the band playing and the sound of kids enjoying themselves, I just can't call it noise. It's a community.
Hi, I'm Debbie Mello. I'm one of the football managers. Coming from me and, like the perspective of me and the managers, it's really hard getting on the bus and just having to wait in traffic to go to the field that our own team is playing at, where if it's on campus, they can really just cross the road. And it's also really hard because us managers, we're girls, we have nowhere to go during weather delays or lightning, whatever. We just have to sit on the bus, and I think that's really bad. It causes a lot of traffic. It's also just really inconvenient because I know a lot of my friends who come here, instead of going to our own football games, they go to our rival teams' football games because they know the struggle it is to drive a mile down and get stuck in traffic when there's no parking. And most of the time, they block off the parking just for the parents, like, and just us, like, having to ride the bus with the football team, it gets really hard because after the games, most of the times, they reserve the bus shuttles, like, for the students who have to get picked up and dropped off at the school, and it just takes so much time because then we don't get back to the school until like 10, almost 11, and it's just so inconvenient because no one wants to wait an hour to get back to the school to go home, especially when you're all sweaty and tired. Like, that's it.
Hey, good evening. I'm Mr. Carrick. I teach English here. So I too, like Miss Mara and my OG, I came over from, that was my son before, by the way, I was pretty proud of that. I too, I'm an OG, I came over from Apopka, so that Apopka stuff is all because of me, because I worked there for 16 years. We went to every game, we were there every night, and three state championships in 13 years that we had there. It was incredible. We had such great times. However, I want to give you the flip side to that. I also went to Colonial. I graduated there in 1990. And I think my 3 years at Colonial, we won 2 games. I was in the band. I marched for 3 years. I was captain of the drum line my senior year. We had a great time. And the band, actually, we were so bad at football that people would come at the end of the second, watch halftime, leave at the beginning of the third. Okay, that's how bad it was. In fact, 1990, my senior year, we played Evans, who won the state title the next year. They let the entire school out early to go watch this game because otherwise, I mean, we all went. And we actually played past the time school got out. Nobody left. We were down 47-0 with a minute left, or less than a minute. We were on the 2-yard line. We were getting ready to score against Evans. Our quarterback dropped back. He had a guy open in the right back corner of the end zone. He lofted it instead of firing it. It was picked off. It was returned for a touchdown, and it was 54-0. And you know, but here's what happened. We cheered so loud because it wasn't the fact that we knew we were going to beat Evans. We didn't have a chance to beat it. We didn't beat anybody that year. The point was that we were all together, though, and it was Colonial, and we had that. It was that thing every night. It was Friday night lights, as you say, and it was Colonial, and the stadium backed up against people's backyards even worse than this is going to do. And I think that that's the important thing to keep in mind. I understand the concessions that neighborhoods want and need. I totally understand. I'm a homeowner myself, and I live across the street, sort of, from Apopka, and I get it. But at the same time, I think what we're trying to build here is something that's going to be really good for the community. It's going to be important for these kids. It's going to be important for everyone. And it isn't really about, I mean, and think about this too, here's another fact, and I think I'm right on this Smithfield take, because I don't know, but I may be speaking a falsehood here, but I believe every one of our sports teams at this school has either won a metro, district, or regional, or a state title. The state, I think, a little less. However, all of our sports teams have been successful, in spite of the fact that we don't have the glue, which is the football team, all right? Imagine what happens when we get that glue. And to quote a line from one of my favorite movies, because I love the Atlanta Braves, I love baseball, if you build it, they will come. And by that, I don't mean the people, because the people are already there. The people are already there. We went to Tavares the other night, and the whole entire side was filled with what we're doing. So I don't mean that if you build it, they will come championships. I don't mean people, they're already there. I mean championships. We will win. We will become a force and a power, and we will beat Horizon, and we will beat West Orange and everybody else. We just need to build a place for us, and we're going to take care of that business. Oh, by the way, we'll also beat Apopka, so you heard me say that tonight. And my friends are going to get really mad about me. So, anyways, thank you for your time. Go Wolverines.
We had posted this from 6 to 7, and before we lose people, we'll stay and listen to all the testimony, but before we lose people, there's a couple things that I want to say. One is, students, I'm so proud of you tonight. I am so proud. And here's why I'm proud. Not only are you so articulate, our future is so bright. I wish the media would meet all of you. And I'm not talking about West Orange Times. They do a good job of showing how great our students and our schools are. But the national perspective is not always about how wonderful our future is, but it is bright and better than it is today and better than it was yesterday because of all of you. Secondly, I would like to ask all of the teachers, administrators, and parents who volunteer here every single day to stand. Stand up. Stand up. You've already put in more than full days. You've either been here or elsewhere and made a point to come tonight, and you show up every day and make this bright future possible. And next, I would like to thank the neighbors who came. And thank you for being respectful to one another. But more than anything, this has been a great civic example of how a community can talk to one another in a proper and positive way. So thank you. In case people had to leave, I wanted to make sure you heard that message. And I want to thank the commissioner who has been willing to talk about this since she took office. So it's really important to have that kind of communication between your intergovernment folks. So please proceed.
I'm Eileen Hannigan, Coach Hannigan, so many of you. Proud supporter of Mr. Fernando Chang with the shout out for softball and baseball nights. In all seriousness, I wanted to say that when it comes to stadiums and when it comes to noise concerns and when it comes to children, if you're talking about 50 nights in which you sustain some joy and some great music, because our band is very talented, I think it's beyond worth it when you talk about what we gain. There are 365 days in a year, 364 other years. There's 50 nights that we're asking for these children to have a place to play. And as a sport that gets to have a home field, even though we play in the afternoon, when you go to Windy City volleyball games and you see what our student body can do, and when you go to basketball games and you see what our student body can do, and when you see a Saturday softball game against the defending state champions with a sellout crowd, and you see our baseball team go and play in a regional game with a sellout crowd, and then you go to a lacrosse game, and you go to a soccer game, and you go to a football game, and they don't get the same support. And it's because it's not here. So bring it here.
Hi, my neighbor, I also have a question about the noise. I wanted to find out in particular about the loudspeakers. I've heard noise mentioned, I heard a lot about lighting, but I didn't hear anything about the loudspeakers addressed. And the loudspeakers project further to neighborhoods even farther than the lighting projects.
It's a wonderful question. Just so you know, we're in discussions at this point as to the best way to mitigate the sound as much as possible. One of the ways that we're going to be doing that is the speakers are actually going to be directional and focused directly onto the field so that the majority of the sound will be going onto the field of play, but also into the stands. So that as much as possible, it will not mitigate out into the public. So, and we have several other things that we are doing and discussing to make sure that.
How do we get more information specifically? There's other people from my neighborhood that have the same concerns. They weren't able to make it tonight though.
Connect with our offices.
Staff right here that will
Yeah. Okay. And then as the teams are working on it together for those.
How do loudspeakers play into like noise ordinances for the county?
Are you
I'm talking about people who live here
let's-
every day, and I'm
Yeah, and I want to make
asking
sure that
others-
we can be super productive and figure out, I believe, a win-win-win-win. And I think we've got, every year that has gone by, I think since the original discussions about the school, we've had better and better options to mitigate some of these things and to understand a little better what the needs of the community are. And I know that Ted has spoken with the Environmental Protection Division of Orange County, which oversees our noise ordinance about some of these issues. But we are very committed to collaborating and figuring out what we can do to add even onto that, right? So whatever Orange Code says is permitted, doesn't prevent us from having another conversation about other mitigation. So, but I'll let Ted explain.
So I know time is a constraint for all of us tonight, but
I just wanted to bring it up as a concern and see if it's being addressed and how we find out that it is.
So one of the most important things tonight is when you walk in, hopefully, and on the way out, you sign in, because that's our one way of point of contact. There's a number of ways, but that is your number one way, the commissioner's office and the school board. That's how we're disseminating information. So please feel free, and hopefully everyone has signed in tonight. So, and on the way out, please do so. I know that time is of constraint, and I know the commissioner would like to say a few words here too.
Well, mine was really a thank you, and I want to thank Board Member Gould for really this ongoing collaboration since day one. I do believe that because we are both community members, that the things, the concerns, the joys, the struggles, we really do understand. And I want to say that, as we discuss, I think the details, we're hearing some of those things that are, they're not coming out of left field. We understood there were going to be things we wanted to talk about and get to. But I also think that, hearing the joy from the students here, the teachers, the passion of the teachers, what a pleasure it is to serve in a community like this. I feel honored every single day. And I know as we move forward, it will be a process, right? We need to get across that finish line in the BCC. And by the way, Ted does it, everyone from the county does it. We love acronyms. The BCC is the Board of County Commission. That's the final stop. And, clearly the Orange County Board of County Commission on 1 of 7 votes. They're going to hear a summary of what happened tonight in the staff report, and I cannot wait to discuss this. So I think that having, this engagement right now, hearing the concerns, but also hearing the support, we're really well prepared to get to the next steps, which the BZA is the Board of Zoning Adjustment. We check that one off the list, then we go on to the Board of County Commission, we check that off the list, and then I can't wait to get back out here for a game.
So not to cut anyone off, but you're welcome to linger, but we're going to start wrapping this up because we're very cognizant of everyone's time tonight. But I definitely want to remind you in the sign-in, with also the reminder of the upcoming meetings, the September 7th meeting. If you're available, your comment is in the afternoon hours. So the meeting starts at 9 a.m. You're welcome to attend at 9 a.m., but this will not be going until, I believe, until the 12:30 hour, so in the afternoon. And then typically, Board of County Commissioner, those meetings start for public hearings at 2 p.m. We wouldn't know exactly what time. So that is anticipated and tentative for October 24th. But as we all know, things sometimes, gets a little bit pushed, but stay tuned. That is why we need your contact. That's why, stay in contact with the county. And we definitely are very happy that there's a lot of electricity here tonight. And we can take one more comment here, and then we're just going to have to wrap things up officially. You're welcome to linger as long as the school would love you to stay, but go ahead, sir.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Keith Johnson. I'm the president of Horizon West Youth Sports. Very proud to say that this is our 5th year as an organization, and in that 5 years, we sent well over 100 athletes into the high schools in the surrounding area, with well over 50 here at Windermere. Our belief is we are one team, one family. And the boys that grow up are still family with the friends at Horizon High, West Orange, Olympia, and a number of other high schools in the area. And when they talk, they know that it's a completely different experience. It's not a home game when the athletic trainers have to load their personal vehicles to take the equipment to the stadium. It's not a home game when the band has to rent rider trucks. The football coaches need to load up their personal vehicles to get the equipment there. It's just not fair for these athletes. I'm a proud graduate of Tulane University. When I went there, they played in the Superdome. You put 5,000 people in a 60,000 seat stadium, it wasn't fun. In 25 years, they went to 4 bowl games, not very successful. They built an on-campus stadium about 10 to 12 years ago, in the middle of a neighborhood, the same conversations we're having tonight about lights and traffic and noise abatement and everything else. Since they put that campus on stadium, they've won 6 bowl games, including the Cotton Bowl this last year against USC. Having an on-campus stadium makes a huge difference for the experience of these athletes, for the administration, and I thank you for considering this at this time.
So I still see some folks that want to speak, and I want to make sure, I think that maybe we can get together and do an open mic night or something out here, because I don't want anyone's voice to go unheard. And so if you will all stay put over there for a second, we're going to walk over and just get a chance to talk to you. But I really want to thank every single person who came here tonight, whether you're a neighbor, a supporter, a parent, a student, a teacher. It really makes me feel very proud to be here. Stay tuned for next steps. If you have questions, email either one of our offices, district1@ocfl.net for me, and
Pamela Gould, Pamela.Gould@ocps.net for me.
All right, well, thank you everyone. Have a great evening, and we'll see you in a second.